live from our Rochester studio.
Good morning, I'm Tyler Utzka. Thank you for watching KIMT News 3's Daybreak this morning. It is Thursday, December 9th, and it's 6 o'clock. We got to get you up to speed with the forecast because there's a lot happening this morning and then definitely a lot tomorrow too. Winter weather advisory just issued.
Yeah, so winter weather advisory issued half an hour ago from the National Weather Service. This is because we're seeing freezing rain across parts of the area that's making for icy roads. Winter weather advisory for parts of North Iowa and southern Minnesota. That's Cerro Gordo County and east of there. Mitchell County, Floyd County, Howard County, and also Austin, Rochester, Fillmore County, and also Dodge County. This is all through 9 a.m. because with this freezing rain snow mix, those roads becoming quickly icy. And also we are seeing a little bit of wind with this as well. So there is likely, at least in some spots, some reductions in visibility. Here's a look at that radar right now. Again, in North Iowa, in these pink colors, that's the ice. That's the freezing rain falling in Cerro Gordo County, maybe even falling in Hancock County. Hancock County not in that advisory, potentially still seeing some of that icy and troublesome freezing rain falling. Some snow mixed in with that as well. Some of that's starting to move into Austin right now, according to the radar. I just checked the live eye in Austin. I didn't see anything, but we saw that earlier in Mason City, and then eventually we did finally start to see that rain continue to move on in. So this freezing rain and snow mix will be here through 9 a.m. Through 9 a.m. If you need to go out on those roads, you need to use like a lot of caution or just not do it at all. Because again, this could freeze up your windshield, could freeze up your roads, and there are reports of multiple accidents in central Iowa, just south of our area, between Waterloo and Des Moines and Mason City. So we're going to continue to track our morning commute this morning. Just know it is not good. And then we're also tracking a winter storm coming our way tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Mayo Clinic doctors and researchers want you to know that the Omicron variant is not the only one that we should be worried about. KIMT News 3's Alex Dieterer joins us live with what doctors expect could happen as early as Christmas. Alex.
Good morning, Tyler. Mayo's Dr. Gregory Poland says that these variants will continue to happen and evolve if the right measures aren't taken. And our best line of defense right now against this spread of COVID is to get vaccinated and to get the booster. He says that our biggest threat right now in the U.S. is the Delta variant, but Omicron is a growing threat. According to the preliminary data we have, there are more than 50 known mutations of Omicron. This data so far has shown that the Omicron variant is 2 to 6 times more infectious than the Delta variant. Since the start of the pandemic, 1 out of 400 American lives have been taken by coronavirus. And Dr. Poland warns that if we do not do our part in stopping this spread, it won't be long before that number gets even higher.
If the death rate does not change, somewhere around 25,000 Americans who are alive right now will not be by Christmas and New Year's timeframe. 25,000 more. They don't believe it, or they would go and get vaccines and boosters. But it is a sad fact demonstrated month after month for almost 24 months now.
Dr. Poland said that at both the individual and the community level right now, the only way to stop these numbers from getting higher and the best way that we know of right now is to get that booster shot. Live in Rochester, Alex Dieterer, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Alex. The beginning stages of data also suggest that the Omicron variant causes an increase in reinfection rates, meaning those who have been previously infected and think they are protected from the new variant are not. A Mayo Clinic Express Care location is now open again in Rochester. It's located right inside the Hy-Vee on Crossroads Drive Southwest. It closed in March of last year because of the pandemic, but opened back up on Wednesday. As staff says, needs have increased. Here, 18-month-old to 75-year-olds can get acute care treatment. This location will be open weekdays from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and then on weekends from 9 to 5. Olmsted County's Chester Woods Park and Cascade Lake Park are on the list to get some funding from the state. Chester Woods could be awarded roughly $330,000 from the Parks and Trails Legacy Fund, while Cascade Lake Park could get almost $380,000. The funds still need to be approved by the legislature, though. A new program will be available in January for businesses in southeast Minnesota owned by minority or low-income people, women, veterans, or those with disabilities. The Emerging Entrepreneur Loan Program is being launched by Rochester Area Economic Development Incorporated next month. It will provide anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 to small startups that have fewer than 5 employees and have been generating revenue for less than 2 years. There will be an information session on Thursday, December 16th, and you can find more information all about this on our website, kimt.com. Well, Christmas came early to some in Mason City last night.
We have the tickets up here. Hang on to your tickets.
Families were treated to some early Christmas presents at the North Iowa Youth Center. Santa Claus was even there, taking pictures with all the kids. And coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, the Youth Center will have an inflatable fun day at the National Guard Armory in Mason City, so that'll be on Saturday, December the 18th. MnDOT is ready for the snow that's predicted to fall tomorrow, but are you? How experts are recommending you to stay safe if your car drifts off the road. And Rochester police arrest a person and are looking for another in connection to a vehicle theft from earlier this week. The details on this.
Here's a live look right now over Mason City. The freezing rain continuing to fall. You can see some of that on the lens right there of the camera, and this is making for icy roads in parts of North Iowa, continuing to track a dicey morning commute.
KIMT News 3 Daybreak. Your local news with KIMT News 3's Tyler Yutzka and Brooke McKibbergan. Weather every 10 minutes with Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sean McAday. This is KIMT News 3. More local news that is happening right now. We are coverage you can count on.
The Minnesota Department of Transportation is looking ahead to more winter weather. So December is typically warmer than January and February. So with those freezing temperatures to come, that's when leftover snow can turn into ice on the roads. Mike Doherty with MnDOT says snowplow drivers are constantly aware of the forecast and adjust accordingly. This includes working all night before and after a snowfall and knowing all the areas that cause the most drifting. So Doherty reminds all new and experienced Minnesota drivers of how to stay safe if their car goes off the road.
And then if you do slide off the road, just stay in your vehicle with your seatbelt on. That's the safest place because if you slid off, there's also the risk that maybe somebody else could because they may see your vehicle, slow down, get into a skid. You don't want to be out of your vehicle where you're very vulnerable then. There's no protection for you. So that vehicle gives you protection, and then your seatbelt keeps you secure in there.
And according to the Minnesota Office of Traffic Safety, while summer months are the deadliest on Minnesota roads, wintertime leads to the most crashes and poses the most safety risks and hazards. It is 6:11 on your Thursday morning. A lot to get to when it comes to the forecast. Let's get to KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sean McAday for an update every 10 minutes. And Sean, the road's not looking too great, especially to the south of Rochester.
Yeah, so once you get south of Rochester, especially North Iowa, those roads are quickly turning bad right now. If you are commuting in North Iowa, you may want to reconsider or hold off at least through 9 a.m. Right now in southern Minnesota, we're starting to see some of that freezing rain and snow mix move in, but in North Iowa, it's already there. It's already raining, turning to ice. And we zoom in to Sarasota County, Clear Lake, Mason City. A lot of slowdowns between Ventura, Clear Lake, and downtown Mason City. Thankfully, no reports of accidents at the current moment, but we'll hopefully we don't see that. But right now, clearly, there is freezing rain making for slowdowns in both Sarasota County and also Floyd County. Here's a look at Charles City. Again, you could see a lot of slowdowns on 218. And there are reports of a lot of accidents also in central Iowa, just to the south of our area. So this freezing rain continuing to move in. A winter weather advisory issued through 9 a.m. What this is telling you, and when you see I-35 completely covered according to the DOT, this should tell you that travel is bad at this hour in North Iowa. Some of this is moving into southern Minnesota through 9 a.m., and that's why we need to be extra weather aware this morning. If you can delay travel, that is a good idea right now. Again, it is so easy to slide off the roads, even when you have a freezing drizzle, because that is just a thin layer of ice. There is no friction there, Tyler.
All right, yeah, definitely got to be careful. Thank you, Sean. Rochester police arrest one person and are looking for another in connection to a vehicle theft from earlier this week at a Holiday gas station. So police said on Tuesday night, a crew was removing snow from a lot when a 31-year-old victim got out of the truck to lay some salt on that parking lot. And once he was out, two men jumped into the truck, then took off. The truck was spotted at Silver Lake and 10th Street Northeast before it sped away from officers. After hitting a curb, the suspects were seen walking on a nearby trail. One person, this man, 30-year-old Tyrone Land of Rochester, was located and is now facing multiple charges, including fleeing an officer in a motor vehicle. An emotional first day of testimony in the Kim Potter trial. What arguments the prosecution and defense are laying out following the shooting death of Dante Wright. And U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley is questioning the Biden administration's effort to close Guantanamo Bay, the concerns he has. All right, good morning to you. It is 6:15 here on your Thursday morning. We're dealing with some winter weather this morning, currently in a winter weather advisory. This is a live look over Mason City. We're getting some freezing rain. You can see those little drops right on the camera lens right now. And Sean, some places, driving is just treacherous right now.
Yeah, so we just moments ago looked at those traffic maps in North Iowa. In Cerro Gordo County, Floyd County, it is so slow. Thankfully, people are going slow. But if you can delay travel, that is a good idea. North Butler schools just delayed schools for 2 hours, a 2-hour delay because of this freezing rain and this winter weather advisory issued through about 9 a.m. It's actually through 8 a.m. in Cerro Gordo County, 9 a.m. through the rest of the area. And again, that's because freezing rain, no joke, even a little freezing drizzle is enough to put a thin sheet of ice on those roads, and quickly you can go skidding off the roads. There is no friction whatsoever. It's a lot more slick than normal snow is, and there are reports of multiple accidents in parts of central Iowa just to the south of Cerro Gordo County. Right now, again, that live look over Mason City, the freezing rain continues to fall at this hour. It turns to a little bit of a snow mix as you get a little bit further east towards places like Floyd County and Howard County, and some of that snow we're seeing at least on the radar starting to fall in Fillmore County, Mower County. It's just to the south of Rochester, but this likely does start to move into Rochester within the next hour. Again, our eyes are still turned on to the freezing rain across the area, which is making for very poor travel conditions in North Iowa. Again, in North Iowa, if you can delay your travel for several hours this morning, that is a good idea. Why risk it? This is very slick, freezing rain, a lot more slick than normal snow is. We zoom in on Mason City and Charles City, still widespread freezing rain and maybe even some sleet mixed in there. Kind of looks like there might be some of that from Northwood down to Mason City, even towards parts of Hancock County on the radar, and east towards Charles City, also in Mitchell County as well. We look south on the radar. This is where there's reports of multiple accidents. It's south of Cerro Gordo County on I-35 and a little bit east of there as well. Once you start to get a bit closer to Waterloo, that's kind of that general area where we are seeing reports of accidents already. Right now, no reports of accidents in our area, but we'll let you know if we do see any of that. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully people are delaying their travel or traveling very, very slowly this morning. Again, travel bad in our area. It's going to remain with that freezing rain through the next several hours in North Iowa. It is out of the way by 9 a.m. and you're left with a couple of snowflakes, likely in southern Minnesota through about 9, 10 a.m. Then that continues to move on out in the afternoon. So much easier. This afternoon, we see sunny skies. It's actually going to warm up above freezing in North Iowa and southern Minnesota today. That's making for a rather nice afternoon, but that is again problematic because southern Minnesota, we have snow on the ground. We're going to melt a little bit of that, and then we're going to put it on the roads, and then we're going to refreeze it overnight. That's not good. Now we're dealing with more icy roads, and then we're getting snow tomorrow. I didn't have a good opportunity to talk about the winter storm headed our way tomorrow. I will continue to track that over the course of today, and we'll be talking a lot about it tonight. But winter storm on the way for tomorrow through Friday afternoon into early Saturday morning. This is how much snow we could see with our latest forecast from that. A lot of us seeing some decent snow, most of us somewhere around 6 inches from that. In southern Minnesota, it does look like southern Minnesota will get a bit more snow than North Iowa, and at times it could be a lot more snow. The rest of the week, we actually see warmer temperatures. Next week, a high of 52 degrees. Bringing it back to this morning, though, if you're just tuning in, North Iowa and also parts of southern Minnesota now, seeing freezing rain, making for very poor travel conditions. And there are reports, again, of accidents in parts of Iowa. Yeah,
that is our biggest threat right now. And I'm looking at our closings right now. We have 8 closings in, not closings, excuse me, delays. 8 of them, including Central Springs, Clear Lake, Hampton Dumont, Osage, Riceville, West Fork, and West Hancock. So a lot of school districts taking note that, yes, the conditions out there just way too dangerous at the moment to get kids to school.
I think that's a good idea.
Right. Thank you, Sean. Opening statements followed by testimony yesterday in the trial of Kim Potter. The white Minnesota police officer says she mistakenly drew a gun instead of her taser when she shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright. Here's Laura Podesta.
In the same courtroom where former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty of murdering George Floyd, another white officer, Kim Potter, sits trial connected to the death of a black man named Daunte Wright. In April, police pulled over 20-year-old Wright for expired license plate tags and an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror, which is illegal in Minnesota. They then discovered he had an outstanding warrant. Video from Potter's body cam shows police attempting to arrest Wright before he gets back in his car. Potter then pulls out her pistol while repeatedly shouting taser. She then shoots Wright in the chest.
We trust them to know wrong from right and left from right.
The defense claimed in opening statements Potter mistakenly grabbed the wrong weapon while trying to protect another officer who would have gotten hurt had Wright driven away.
This was an accident. She's a human being, but she had to do what she had to do to prevent a death to a fellow officer, too.
Wright's mother spoke to the court about the pain that accident has created.
I wanted to go comfort my baby. I wanted to hold him.
Potter's expected to testify on her own behalf next week. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Potter is no longer on the Brooklyn Center police force. The 26-year veteran resigned shortly after that shooting. U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley is questioning the Biden administration's efforts to close Guantanamo Bay. President Biden has committed to closing the detention center by the end of his term, but leaders on both sides of the aisle say they've yet to see details on how the White House plans to do so. Senator Grassley says he'd like Guantanamo Bay to stay open, citing concerns on whether closing the military prison would help keep Americans safe.
I want to see people prosecuted. I want to see people punished. If they're turned loose, like we found turning loose several hundred people in previous administrations, at least 1/3 of them have entered the war on terrorism again against the United States.
The White House declined to provide any witness to testify at a Senate Judiciary hearing yesterday, all about the closing of Guantanamo Bay. The federal government plans to cut its carbon emissions by 65% by the end of the decade, what President Biden did yesterday to help speed up this process. And a London bar was named best bar in the entire world for the second year in a row. Which U.S. bar came in 10th? The pandemic is putting the job market on a roller coaster ride. After massive layoffs in 2020, businesses are searching for millions of employees, but many workers are deciding to just walk away from the job. The Labor Department says more than 4 million people quit their jobs in October. Many are calling this recent phenomenon the Great Resignation. CBS News' business analyst says the resignations are giving job seekers more opportunities. There were 11 million job openings in October. That's up 400,000 from September. There are many of these openings specifically in the restaurant industry, which was hit especially hard during the start of the pandemic.
I think this Great Resignation is something that's really been interesting to observe. Many people have been very frustrated with their old jobs for a long time, but didn't think they had alternatives. Well, now they have alternatives, and they're taking advantage of those alternatives.
The current climate has corporations trying to attract workers with higher wages and other incentives, but many small businesses can't compete. The federal government plans to cut its carbon emissions by 65% by the end of the decade. And a London bar was named the best bar in the entire world for the second year in a row. Here's Diane King Hall with more in today's CBS Money Watch report.
Wall Street moved higher on Wednesday. The Dow added 35 points. The Nasdaq jumped 100 and the S&P 500 gained 14. Investors cheered news that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine is effective against the Omicron variant. The company says 2 doses may not be enough, though. The booster increases protection 25-fold. The federal government plans to cut its carbon emissions by 65% by the end of the decade. President Biden's executive order signed yesterday also sets the goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. The White House plans to spend billions on a fleet of electric vehicles and upgrade federal buildings with clean energy. And a winner is crowned. London's Connaught Bar was named the best bar in the world for the second year in a row. That's according to the world's 50 best bars, an annual ranking put together by William Reed Business Media. Connaught was celebrated for staying, quote, true to its principles of presenting artful modern drinks with graceful service. Katana Kitten in New York was the U.S.'s highest ranking bar, coming in 10th. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
A man convicted of a triple homicide in Rochester last year will learn his fate today. We have the details on this. And the Senate voids President Biden's vaccine and weekly testing mandate for businesses with over 100 employees. What happens next?
Here's a live look in Mason City right now, where we're continuing to see some freezing rainfall across the area. I'm going to show you a look at roads coming up after this. They are at a standstill across parts of North Iowa as travel conditions have turned bad.
Mic check, 1, 2.
And I'm tracking some freezing rain mixed with snow in parts of North Iowa, making for bad travel conditions, and some of that expanding into Minnesota now.
And DOT crews are ready for whatever winter weather lies ahead, but are you? Some quick reminders to stay safe during a season where we see the most crashes and hazards. And seeing a spike, area health officials say COVID-19 infections are up and are expected to climb even more. How our hospitals are handling it.
KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on. This is KIMT News 3's Daybreak, live from our Rochester studio.
Good morning to you. I'm Tyler Utzka. Thank you for watching KIMT News 3's Daybreak. It is Thursday, December 9th. Time now, 6:30. All right, let's take a look at Charles City. This is a live eye there. We're dealing with some pretty treacherous wintry conditions. You can see that rain is falling, but it's only 28 degrees, so that rain is freezing. So yeah, really bad conditions, so much so that we have several school delays today. I'm counting more than 8 for sure right now. And Sean, that's a good thing because we're seeing a lot of crashes. These road conditions, no joke.
No joke at all. We have reports of some accidents to the south of our area in central Iowa because of this freezing rain. Thankfully, none to report yet in our area. Hopefully it stays that way and people stay off the roads for the next 2 hours, because winter weather advisory issued this morning about an hour ago from the National Weather Service because of this freezing rain moving into parts of North Iowa. This is for Mason City. This is for parts of North Iowa like Mitchell County, Floyd County, Howard County, and also southern Minnesota. Mower County and Fillmore County starting to see some of that freezing rain and mixed with snow right now as well. Here's a live look at Mason City. Again, you can tell there's a little bit of rain still there with some wind, just based on the wetness we're seeing on the live eye in the sky, kind of on the lens. And we look at some of our traffic right now. These are our traffic maps, and normally I would show these in the future, but worth a point, they're at a standstill. I mean, look, on 18 between Mason City and Charles City, it is moving so slow. Again, no reports of accidents at the moment. Hopefully it stays that way, and hopefully you're looking at this and thinking, I should maybe stay off the roads for the next 2 or 3 hours, because freezing rain quickly making for bad travel conditions, putting a thin layer of ice on those roads. It is way more slick than any snow can ever be. And also it could be putting some ice on your windshield that is very difficult to get out of and makes travel dangerous. So we have reports of school delays so far. That is a good thing that people are staying off those roads. Hopefully you're looking at this and thinking, I'll stay off for right now. This is not going to last all day. The freezing rain already starting to let up a little bit in parts of Cerro Gordo County. That'll continue to kind of drift into parts of southern Minnesota, where it's going to turn to more of that snow mix, and then we'll see a little bit of some accumulation, I think, along that Highway 52 corridor of southern Minnesota. So road conditions this morning, bad for North Iowa, starting to get into parts of southern Minnesota. Then this afternoon and tomorrow morning, things are good, but they're bad again because tomorrow I'm tracking a winter storm coming our way with a lot more snow.
All right, thank you, Sean. We'll get back to you real soon. New this morning on Daybreak, as Sean did just mention, we do have more snow in the forecast for tomorrow, and road crews are already in motion to try to make our commutes as safe as possible. This morning, KIMT News 3's Alex Dieterer joins us live with what's being done. Alex, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tyler. Driving around Rochester this morning, the roads here in Rochester seem to be pretty clear, but that comes right before the freezing rain and the snow that Sean is forecasting and keeping us updated with for today and tomorrow. But MnDOT is ready for whatever comes their way, and MnDOT's Mike Doherty gives us some insight onto these preparations. He says that the Department of Transportation is very aware of areas in the state where drifting happens more often and keep a close eye on them to remove any snow that builds up. There will be some freezing temperatures that turn this leftover snow into ice this month, but he says it's nothing like we'll see in January and February. Doherty reminds us to get into the habit of keeping our headlights on when we drive so that when the snow does start to blow, drivers and snowplows can see other cars on the road. And when the snow does fall, MnDOT is always looking ahead to the next round.
Kind of scraping down into the ditches, and that's to push the snow further in because this is December. We've got a long way to go in winter. So they do a lot of managing the snow afterwards to get it stored further in the ditch. So when it does melt, it drains away. It's also further away from the road so that as new storms come, there's space for that snow as well.
And he also reminds us that with this freezing rain that is coming, to slow down sooner when you come to a stop, because that way it'll prevent you from drifting or sliding on the roads. Live in Rochester, Alex Dieterberg, KIMT News 3.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. Stay with KIMT News 3 all day today and tomorrow for the latest on these winter systems. We'll, of course, keep you up to date. Well, there's a lot of attention being focused on the Delta and the Omicron variants of COVID-19 right now, but experts at Mayo Clinic want you to know there are many other ones being watched. While Omicron is a growing threat in the U.S., the Delta variant is the current main one. Since the start of the pandemic, the coronavirus has taken out one out of every 400 American lives. Dr. Gregory Poland with Mayo Clinic says it's likely another 25,000 lives could be lost by Christmas if measures are not taken seriously. That's in 2 weeks, which he says are getting vaccinated and receiving a booster shot.
And we start to see cases and people say, well, I don't know if we need to shift policy. We don't want to lock down. We don't want to impose mandates. People won't accept it. We don't want to make those kinds of decisions. And then boom, inside of a month or so, we're in a phase that is now overwhelming and can't be contained. That's exactly what we saw with Alpha. It's exactly what we saw with Delta. It's exactly what we'll see with Omicron.
As of right now, there are over 50 mutations of the Omicron variant known. And while preliminary data suggests it is a less severe disease than Delta, it does show that this variant has an increase in transmission and reinfection rates. Minnesota's ICU beds are nearly filled to capacity. The state says 98% of ICU beds are occupied. But how are COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations looking here locally? We spoke with the program manager at Olmsted County Public Health. That's Megan Sheridan, and she says the county has recorded its second highest COVID-19 case count since the beginning of the pandemic. Public Health says last week's case count will be around 914 new cases, which is a nearly 200 case increase from a few weeks ago. Sheridan also says the majority of those new infections are in people who never got vaccinated, and the county is still seeing high amounts of hospitalizations.
We are seeing still really high levels of people in the hospital. Last week we had around 34 when we did our report last week, and I'm expecting us to be right around that number again. And so we're definitely seeing high hospitalization rates, just like we did at this time last year. So we're just really hoping that we can get out of this surge of cases, and so we can start to see those hospitalization numbers go down.
In a statement, Mayo Clinic says that all hospitals have been at or near capacity for months, and that Rochester specifically is treating 100 COVID patients daily, which the hospital says is some of the highest levels since the start of the pandemic. Mayo Clinic also says that unvaccinated hospitalizations are 5 to 6 times higher than vaccinated ones. Still ahead, why health experts say while vaccination rates reached a promising milestone, it's still not enough. And the Senate voids the vaccine and weekly testing mandate for businesses with over 100 employees. What happens next?
Here's a live look right now at Charles City. We're continuing to track freezing rain falling this morning, mixed in with some snow, making for bad travel conditions in North Iowa. There are lots of school delays that are being reported in. I think that's a good thing. I'm going to continue to track your morning commute and snow on the way for tomorrow.
KIMT News 3 Daybreak. Your local news with KIMT News 3's Tyler Yutzka and Brooke McKibbergen. Weather every 10 minutes with Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sean McAday. This is KIMT News 3. More local news that is happening right now. We are coverage you can count on.
Good morning to you. It is 6:41. We're dealing with some pretty treacherous winter weather right now, especially in North Iowa. Roads not looking great. Sean.
Yeah, so the good news is that it does look like some of that freezing rain isn't going to last for too much longer, but you're still dealing with that and icy roads. Again, bad travel conditions in North Iowa. Some of that beginning to move into southern Minnesota as we speak, because we've been seeing this and tracking all morning, this freezing rain and snow mix. This is made for very icy roads across parts of north and central Iowa. And with that snow mix that's going to continue to move into southern Minnesota, we'll probably start to see a little bit of accumulation as well in parts of Minnesota. But before we get to that, let's just talk about the very present moment. We look further south into central North Iowa. I have been hearing reports that Fort Dodge is completely covered in ice from the freezing rain that we've been watching and tracking moving on through. We were tracking that in parts of North Iowa in our counties as well. And again, the radar is showing that letting up. That's good news. But still, at least for the next hour, you're still going to have some ice on those roadways, and it's still going to be incredibly slick. And it's not gone yet. You can still see on the radar there's still some ice that is falling from the skies, some freezing rain falling from the skies mixed in with snow. So those roads are quite poor at the moment. We take a look at a traffic map. Still, look at that. 18 between Mason City and Charles City is moving at a snail's pace according to our traffic maps. That is incredible, but that should also tell you just how serious this is and how slick these roads are. It would be very easy to slide off the road, go into a ditch, because there's a thin layer of ice on the roads in parts of North Iowa. Even I-35, according to the DOT, is completely covered in our North Iowa counties. So this is why we have a winter weather advisory issued for Cerro Gordo County through 8 a.m. and for the rest of our area, for the most part, through 9 a.m. That's Floyd County, Mitchell County, Howard County, and also places in Minnesota like Mower County, Austin, Fillmore, Rochester, and Dodge County as well. That's through 9 a.m. because we're going to start to see this turn into kind of a mostly snow mix with a little bit of accumulation there. Right now, still we're tracking road conditions. In North Iowa, it's quite bad. In places like Albert, Leo, Owatonna, it's totally fine. But again, in parts of Minnesota, this freezing rain snow mix is continuing to move on in. The afternoon is good. This afternoon, tomorrow morning, it looks A-OK. Tomorrow afternoon, though, we're tracking another winter system moving on in, and that is a big chance for snow. Let me run you through it here in our computer model. So the snow moves on out, Mason City after 8 a.m., the rest of our area probably after 9 a.m. This afternoon, we actually see high temperatures in the 40s. It'll get warm, above freezing. We see some of that snow in Minnesota actually melt. That's not good news, though, because that's going to refreeze overnight and turn into more ice in Minnesota, and then we're going to get snow on top of it. Tomorrow, sometime in the morning, we're going to see our narrow band set up in parts of southern Minnesota. This is where, if you're seeing snow before lunchtime tomorrow, know that you're one of the people that's going to get the higher amounts in our area. And it does look like southern Minnesota is going to get more snow than North Iowa tomorrow. The snow builds in the early afternoon through the rest of the area, and it does not stop until early Saturday morning. Here's our snowfall forecast. Right now, most of the area seen around 6 inches, but Minnesota will see more than North Iowa, and parts of Minnesota will see a whole lot more. There's a potential for, again, that narrow band, that narrow strip, maybe along Highway 14 and just north of there, for accumulations above 9 inches, closing in, dare I say it, but kind of close to a foot. It's possible. So we're going to continue to track that. A lot going on this morning.
Yeah. So for now, be sure to drive safe, especially if you're in North Iowa. We have several school delays, and many are still coming in.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. People should delay travel for the next 2 hours.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Sean. The U.S. has passed a key milestone in its vaccination effort, but health experts say there is still more work to be done to protect Americans against COVID-19. A handful of states are current hotspots for the virus that are largely affecting the people who are not vaccinated. Here's Laura Podesta.
More than 200 million, or just over 60% of Americans, are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
It feels good to be safer.
Many are now getting their booster shot, a key defense against the Omicron variant.
At first we were skeptical about do we need it or not, but once we heard there was another variant out there, there's no taking chances.
Pfizer says its additional shot increases protection 25-fold against Omicron.
That will induce immunity that is likely to protect from infection, symptomatic illness, and severe disease.
Only about a quarter of eligible Americans have had a booster. Meanwhile, COVID hospitalizations jumped nearly 30% in the past month, driven by the Delta variant.
Unless we really double down on what we're doing, we could see an increased spike that goes even higher than that as we get deeper into December and January.
4 states, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, are responsible for around half of the increase in hospitalizations. Michigan hit a record number this week.
Nearly all who are on the intensive care unit are unvaccinated, especially those who have a tube down their throat or are intubated.
A new report by the Nuclear Threat Initiative and Johns Hopkins University found the world is dangerously unprepared for future pandemics. The U.S.'s score was hurt by a lack of public trust in government. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
The findings are no better than when the first version of the report was released in 2019, just a few months before COVID-19 was detected. Still ahead, one of the most violent cases Rochester has seen in a long time. That's what Olmsted County Attorney Mark Ostrom is calling the triple homicide that Renard Carter is convicted of. Today, he'll be sentenced. And the beginning phase of the trial of former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter continues today. What's expected to happen in the courtroom?
Ahead first on CBS Mornings, exclusive details on a new eye drop that could help tens of millions see clearly without your reading glasses. We like that. Plus, Drew Barrymore opens up about her own struggles with mental health and the importance of getting help. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.
A man convicted of carrying out a triple homicide in Rochester last year will learn his fate within the next few hours. 30-year-old Renard Carter will be sentenced this afternoon for the murder of his girlfriend, Kiana Foote, who was pregnant at the time, and her 2-year-old daughter, Miana Miller. Carter has been convicted on 3 counts of second-degree murder. Olmsted County Attorney Mark Ostrom said this is one of the most violent cases Rochester has seen in a long time. Opening statements in the trial of former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter began Wednesday morning in Minneapolis. Prosecutors will try to prove that Potter committed manslaughter when she fatally shot Dante Wright during an attempted arrest in April. Potter, who resigned 2 days after the shooting, says she meant to use her taser but accidentally grabbed her gun instead.
After she shot Dante Wright, the defendant admitted she had messed up big time. Here's what she said. I just shot him. I grabbed the wrong gun and I shot him. I'm going to go to prison and I killed a boy.
Mr. Wright can stop. All he has to do is stop and he'd be with us. But he goes. She can't let him leave because he's going to kill her partner. And so she does taser, 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 and she pulls the trigger believing that it was a taser.
Potter, a 26-year police veteran, is being charged with first and second degree manslaughter. Okay, it's 6:51. Let's get you another forecast update because we do have some pretty severe weather happening, especially in North Iowa. It is kind of fizzling on out, moving out of our area, but still very dangerous because that water falling, still freezing.
Still freezing. Those roads are just below the freezing temperature right now. Temps around 30 degrees, upper 20s. That's great for getting the rain that's falling across parts of the area to freeze when it hits and turn to ice. That's why we have such poor conditions in North Iowa. Southern Minnesota starting to see that freezing rain snow mix move in the southern tier of counties, Mower County, Fillmore County especially, where there's still that winter weather advisory out. We're going to take a closer look at North Iowa because this is where we're seeing a lot more impacts. The freezing rain has been coming down. This is incredible. Highway 18 between Mason City, Clear Lake, almost at a complete standstill. A lot of slowdowns between Mason City and Clear Lake, as you could see, and then we go to Charles City. I think I said Clear Lake earlier, and we go to Charles City, and also some slowdowns right here. So roads are bad at the moment. I, 5 minutes ago, checked how many delays we have in North Iowa, and the number at that moment was 14 school delays. I think that's a good idea because according to the DOT, all of I-35 completely covered in that thin layer of ice. You don't want to drive on that. That is ugly to drive on, and it's really, really easy to go off the road. It's way more easier than snow, Tyler, because it's just that thin little layer of complete ice.
Yeah, so we have that, and then also tomorrow that big potential snowstorm that you'll get to when we come back. But first, here's a look at what's next on CBS Mornings.
Ahead first on CBS Mornings, exclusive details on a new eye drop that could help tens of millions see clearly without your reading glasses. We like that. Plus, Drew Barrymore opens up about her own struggles with mental health and the importance of getting help. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.
Good morning to you. It is 6:56 here on your Thursday morning. If you're just joining us, just tuning in, be aware that the roads are not so great, especially in North Iowa right now.
That's where we've been seeing freezing rainfall for the past several hours, and we are seeing those roads just so slow at a standstill in parts of North Iowa like Mason City. That's why we have a winter weather advisory issued through 9 a.m. through 8 a.m. in Cerro Gordo County because of this freezing rain and snow mix, quickly making for very, very slick roads in North Iowa. Iowa. Again, those school delays still coming in North Iowa, but there are many that are delaying school for 2 hours in our northern Iowa counties, again, because of this freezing rain and snow mix. The good news I can deliver to you is that it does like this is beginning to move out of places like Mason City, but it's not done yet. Temperatures still, for the most part, below freezing, and you're still going to have that ice on the roads. I have been seeing reports and hearing reports of Fort Dodge, which saw that earlier, being completely covered in ice, just to give you an idea. And there could be several areas in our northern Iowa counties which are similar. This snow mix, again, does look like it's beginning to move out of our area, pull out. It's really not filling into Fillmore County or Rochester at all on the radar, but we'll have to continue to watch that. We could see it fill back in, even in Mason City, through the next hour, and through places like Rochester and Fillmore County through the next 2 hours. So the roads this morning for most of our area are bad. Owatonna, it's better. This afternoon and tomorrow morning, roads are good. It's A-OK. Tomorrow afternoon, they're bad again because we're tracking this winter storm moving into the area, and that is going to drop some decent snow, around 6 inches. Minnesota's seen even a little bit more than that. So you're going to want to stay with us the next 2 days as Storm Team 3 tracks out everything you need to know.
All right. Thank you, Sean.